Okay, so I want to make this quick, but go over some things and then have you guys answer or ask questions if you have anything come up. But the topic about messaging, I'm pretty passionate about because I think it's important to be doing it the right way. And that is really where the wrong way happens. I feel like most of the time for our business and what we do with network marketing. We've all been sold to, and we know that icky feeling of like, no, I don't want this. No, like there's like an alarm that goes off in our head if we're feeling like we're being sold to. And so I think the way that our messaging happens is there's a way that can come off very salesy, and there's a way that can come off more invitation, more, I care about you, and I don't know if you're hurting at all, but this could be a solution for you. It could be just more permission marketing is another way to phrase it, where you are not just plugging people into things that they didn't agree to. You're not sending them information they didn't say, yeah, I would love to see a video. And so that's I've heard it from Bob Heilig being called permission marketing. So that's I'm going to get into some of that as well. But first, I want to start out with a little bit about my story in the beginning of my journey. So I've been doing this, it'll be 5 years coming up this summer. And when I first joined, I knew I wanted my products covered, and I was already like somewhat present on social media. So it wasn't like that wasn't a big fear of mine to share as far as social media, but it was a big fear of mine to send any messages. And so when I heard that was a part of that's a part of what we do, I was like, no way, I'm not. So I spent 6 months only posting. I didn't send a single message because I had this fear wrapped around about being pushy, about being salesy, about coming off, hurting my relationships, or that was just very important for me to not be that way. And so it took quite a bit of training, working on my mindset, hearing the passion behind why we message and how we do it. And so once I wrapped my head around the idea that I can send an invitation to people without shoving something down their throat, and really like distinguishing the difference there between, like I mentioned at the beginning of the call, where if I'm sending them a bunch of stuff they didn't say, yeah, I'd like to see that, or I'm plugging them into events and pages that they didn't say yes to being a part of, that is all icky feeling, right? Like the person on the other end is like, hey, I didn't need any of that. I wasn't open to that yet. But if I'm sitting there and I have this posture of, hey, there's been something that's been so good for our health, for mine, my family. I don't know if you struggle with any of these like symptoms, or if you've been looking into gut health at all, but I'd love to share my story with you. Are you open to that? Or always like framing it at a question at the end that's like prompting, hearing them say like yes or no. I hope that makes sense. So another thing that was a part of like that shift for me in sending messages was a green light story versus a red light story. So I could be on my end, I'm about to go send a message to someone, and I can frame a thought of, oh, they don't need it, or they're already healthy, they already have plenty of money, they don't need what I have to offer, like they're gonna hate me, like whatever that is. That's all red light stories versus a green light story that is they could be silently struggling with digestive issues, with migraines, with infertility, with taking medications to sleep at night or for their anxiety. They could be healthy as can be on the outside and in their bedroom crying, like devouring their sweets, right? Like we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And I think that's what's really special about what we have in engaging with people, is that we actually can be vulnerable with our story so that we hear what other people don't share. And so it's really neat, actually, and that's a big part of my passion with what we do, is having that platform of connecting with people, whether they whether if they buy a Plexus or not, is to be able to be a voice of encouragement, to be able to say a prayer for them, to be able to just speak some life over whatever situation they might be going through. So I feel like I would just went on a tangent there. But anyway, so the green light story is they could be suffering and I have no idea and no one knows. And yet, so I'm going to come to them with an invitation so that they might say yes or no, and that's okay. The other thing, one last part about the shift that happened was hearing the coffee analogy, which many of you probably have heard this, but I'm going to share it just in case you haven't. But if you're sitting at a restaurant and the waitress comes around and they ask the table of 4 people, do you want coffee? And they come to me and I say, no, I'm good. Is that waitress going to run and hide in the back because I said no, that I don't want her coffee? No, she's not, because it's just, I don't have the desire for it. I don't have the need for it right now. And she's not taking it personally. And the same should be for us and what we have to offer for Plexus. And so if someone doesn't have that need in this moment, that's okay. Great. Like keep doing what you're doing. Okay. Don't hang on to this like self-worth attachment to someone else saying yes or no to Plexus, because it's not, it doesn't have any impact. And I think when you can release that, there's so much more freedom with what we do and less fear attached to like, oh, I hit send on this message and I hope that they don't hate me. And I hope that like there doesn't need to be any of that emotion attached to it. And so I hope that also makes sense. Okay. And then last thing I want to share about my story was just how it changed my business. So I really would describe that first 6 months to a year as just dipping my toe into what this was. I had no idea really the opportunity at hand. And so I was very slow moving and really didn't have strong belief in what was being offered. So I share that as in, I would encourage all of you to step out and build your belief and see what we really do have to offer is a gift for anyone and everyone, and hold on to that, whether that's through the products, whether that's through the opportunity, and really like grasping the belief in yourself that you have the capability to do this and just run. Because when you step into the messaging, it creates more conversations. It's planting more seeds. As you're posting, people are watching with a different eye. So when you hit on a post or a testimony that actually speaks to them, a little light bulb goes off in their head and they're like, oh, well, maybe I should give that a try. And the other thing, so, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. One big key point about messaging is that when you see scripts and templates and examples, those are a framework. Those are your template. And you need to take those and make it your own. You need to individualize it to your person. Quality over quantity matters. I think that's like way, way more important than the amount of messaging that you do versus like a good message over blasting your inbox or your friends list. I definitely would say make them all quality and individualized. When you're sending an invitation, so whether that's to an event or a call or something that's really important about your message is to sell the call. So what that looks like is if we have a PT sharing and maybe she has a special needs son, and I'm going to message Lacey and I'm going to say, hey, Lacey, I want you to come and listen to my friend. I think you'll really, really relate to her. She's also a PT. She's been able to stay home, quit her job. I don't know if that's a desire of yours or not, but being able to supplement your income so that you have options and choices. She's now totally available to take her son to all of his appointments. Like, I think you'll really relate to your story. Would you be interested in listening? You are connecting them to that call versus just a, hey, I'm having a party on Facebook tonight. Would you please come join? Like, we all get those messages and it doesn't pull at any strings. It doesn't nail down any pain points. Like, it's not relatable. And we all will open that and we'll move right on. And so I think it's really important to stand out and stand, just to, again, be doing this differently. Another thing I wanted to talk on was if you are doing a message for the like opportunity, or what we call like your dream teamer or business, the biggest thing to take away is you are calling out their strengths. You are going to call out their potential and what you see in them, what makes them unique, what is a gifting they have. And really, as we know, that this opportunity is available to anyone and everyone, and they have, like we make this our own with our strengths, right? So it's not, we don't, what am I trying to say here? No one is excluded from being successful in the Plexus opportunity. When you look at who has gone to the top, you're going to see everyone from all different backgrounds, strengths, education, jobs, like it doesn't matter. And so I think that is why you can call out any strength that someone has, what makes them their unique individual. And you're not just bluffing, you're not just blowing smoke, but you're truly saying like, this is what I see in you, and what I see in you is why you could be successful. So that's a really key thing for when you're doing like your dream team list or your business reach out, and really be thinking about the people in your life that you would want to do this with and that you do know would be successful. The other thing is transferring your inspiration to them. So no one grows up hearing from their parents, you're going to be a professional network marketer and you're going to be really good at it. There's no one who's going to go get a degree in network marketing. And so again, I think when you are talking about what this opportunity offers, you are that voice. You're that person who's like, hey, there's something really awesome over here, and I want you to come check it out. So in all the different ways that you are sharing, whether that's in your posts or your messages, you are getting to show people that maybe their life isn't exactly looking how they would hope or wanted, or and you can be that avenue that bridges like, hey, check it out over here. Like you could quit your job, or you could provide more for your family so you can get out of debt. You can relieve that financial stress, see your kids more, whatever that might be. I heard an analogy in a call that I was listening to about you have your best friend who's like, their dream growing up was to go set up camp at the Grand Canyon. It was going to be all rainbows and butterflies over there. And that was what they did. That's what they went to school with. That's where they set up their home, all of that. And then you start hearing all the pain points about the Grand Canyon, that they're not happy over there. It wasn't chalked up to what they thought it would be. And you're over there in Disneyland and you're like, hey, you should come over here, check it out. Come over to Disneyland because of all of the XYZ. Are they going to pack up all and shift their whole life to go over to Disneyland with the first time you send an invite and tell them about it? Probably not. Will it take about a year process of you constantly and like just highlighting and showing and promoting and informing them of what's possible over in Disneyland? Then they might be ready to move, and they might be ready to like pack up and make that shift, right? Like, I think that just to me was a really good example of, as we are continuing to share and knowing that we're here for the long haul and being committed and consistent, that is where those seeds are planted. And that's where that belief is built. And that is where that trust comes. And so within a year's time frame, these people will eventually say yes. And so, or the right people will. So I think when you have that posture, again, it releases that emotion to people who are going quiet, or people who show interest and they don't sign up, or people who say no now. I think here, like I said, I've been doing this for 5 years, and I still have people who are now saying yes, and they've watched me for 5 years. And so I think it's just, it's important to have that awareness of what it is that we're just continuing to drip belief on our journey as we go, and releasing ourselves to the attachment of what other people are saying or doing in that time. Because when the timing's right, they'll make the jump. Another thing that's important with your messaging is to have the energy and the belief that this has the potential to change everything for them. Because when you really do own that, when you do to your core know that any person I'm talking to, Plexus has the ability to change their health or change the trajectory of their future if they stepped into this opportunity. That is where every post and message and conversation, it comes from that place of belief that this really can be for everyone. Yeah, Lacey says voice messaging is so good. I totally agree. I think it's people, there's nothing more authentic than just hearing your voice. The other thing about messaging is that it's a muscle that needs to be exercised. And so just like when you're working out, and it gets easier as you develop that muscle and that strength comes, the same as with messaging. If I've been out of my groove of messaging, it will take me a long time to get my messages going and right and to get in that mindset. And but when I'm consistent and I'm on it, they start flowing and they just go so much smoother and it's simpler. And so I think it's important to remember that too, is like staying in it. The rule of thumb to keep a healthy growing business is 3 reach outs a day. If you want to move quicker, you have some rank goals, minimum of 5 messages a day. And so when you have like a refreshed list of people to reach out to and connect with, that helps it go quicker. When you have like your 20-minute window, you pull out your list and you're going to go message 3 people from there versus spending your 20 minutes trying to find the people you're going to message. So that's just a little tip. Okay, my last little few points, and then I'll do questions if you guys have any. But I think it's important to expect the no, to expect objections, and to expect silence. Once again, I feel like we wrap up some emotions into that when really there doesn't need to be, because we are all busy. We are all opening messages as we're running out the door or sitting at a stoplight, or you're cooking dinner and your pot starts boiling over. Like no one's necessarily ready to respond in a moment of that. Okay. Also, it takes a minimum of 12 points of contact on average, which means it could go above that for people to say yes. And so I think it's, again, healthy mindset on just knowing that people are very cautious. People are leery of what's happening. And so as you're posting and you're continuing to follow up, that is all showing credibility with what you have to offer. And again, it's also just exposing people to what need this can fill for them. And let's see. Okay, one other thing, you're continuing to be friends with these people. If they are saying no, or if they are ghosting you, if I ran into someone in the grocery store who I just sent a reach out message to that they didn't respond to, I'm not going to run and hide the other way. Don't make it weird. It's only weird if you make it weird. So I'm going to still be like, hey, how are you doing? Like, you are still a person in my life that I will love and care for and be here to support you, cheer you on, whatever. So, yeah, I think it's important just to know that you're going to continue to engage with these people. You're going to be present with them on their social media, in friendship, and then you're going to continue to follow up. Okay, you have to remember that 12 point of contact. It's Danielle, she called this out in one of our message threads, but she said in our training that we listened to, if you're not willing to do the follow-up, then don't do the first reach out. I mean, truly, when it comes down to that, because when you have that frame of mind, like, oh my gosh, my brain doesn't work. When you have that frame of reference that people don't say yes on the first time, then you know that you're going to come back around. You're going to invite them to something else. You're going to continue to expose them to what it is you have to offer. I think that's it. I covered kind of a lot right there, but do you guys have any questions or thoughts?
I feel like when I am in a funk, messaging is what gets me out of that funk. Like, it's action, but also like trying to piggyback on the excitement of, oh, I just added someone. So like, that's a really great time to reach out to someone else because you already have that like excitement of adding someone, and or somebody shared a really awesome win. You know, it's just exciting to hear that stuff. And so I think it just naturally, like, sometimes it's hard. Like, I have a hard time with the 3 messages a day because I feel like Hannah said, sometimes it takes me a while to get into that mindset. And so I'd rather do like kind of batch them a little bit, like do a
Yeah.
day where I just send out kind of a bunch of messages. But I feel like if I'm on a roll with other stuff and I'm kind of getting these wins, or I've had people add and it's exciting, that's way easier to reach out to more people then. So it's okay if you don't do 3 every day, you know, as long as you're getting, if you have a goal in mind, I mean, you want to do so many a week, but I like that.
That's a great point, Lacey. Really great point. You need to do what works for your schedule, for your personality. I too, actually, honestly do like IPA blitzing. So I will take an hour and I will pump out a bunch of messages. Or like now, I was just talking to my husband about how I need like an afternoon. And so on one of his days off, I'm going to take an afternoon, and that is going to be my messaging time. So I might take 3 hours to do a whole week's worth of messaging in that time frame, because I don't do good on my 3 days or 3 messages a day. I will tell you, Liz, that's totally her personality. And that is like, she will not go to bed until she has her 3 people messaged in that day. I know Abby Kappa, she grew her business that same way. She would not lay her head on her pillow until she messaged her 3 people. So, and that's just because that's for them, that's like an ultimatum. The day doesn't end until they've done their task. And so if that is how you function and that's what you need for your commitment, then do that. So yeah. Love Zana. Sorry, I didn't get to say goodbye to her. So yeah, I think that's an awesome point. Anything else? You guys have any other questions? All right. Well, I hope that was helpful. There are tons. We always have message examples. There's a whole in Rising Jewels, a files tab. That's what I'm thinking of, files tab, and then message examples. So if you're struggling with what does that reach out message look like, go to there. This week for our IPA messaging challenge, there's going to be tons of examples for you guys to pull from there. And then just remember using your own voice through those as well. But okay. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.